Hello everyone and welcome to Petworking. I'm Peter Kenseth, Vice President and Partner at Maya Strategy Group, and yes, that was a parrot you heard in the background. I'm here at the Roo Vet booth with CEO Danny Leffel. Danny and I have been chatting a little bit last night at the Roo Happy Hour and again today, and wanted to bring you some exciting developments. Platform continues to grow. They're about to spin off a new AI code builder. And have since we last had Roo on the show with Jeffrey Bishop Hill, and Jeff, we hope you're feeling better. Sorry you couldn't be here, but Danny tells me that they have expanded into recruitment for full-time placement, not just relief vets.
Lots of developments this year for us. A big one, we just launched Ohio. We have a number of other market launches that are coming. And yes, as you mentioned, one of the newest ways that you can use Roo is to meet either veterinarians or clinics that you potentially want to work at. And then ultimately we help you to land a full-time role at one of those places. It's an increasingly popular way for you to try before you buy. That kind of goes both ways. Hospitals try out a veterinarian, make sure that there's a chemistry fit, and veterinarians figure out if that's the place that you want to work, and ultimately we drive a placement that way.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And you mentioned you had 5,000 veterinarians do a shift on Roo last year?
Last year, 5,000 veterinarians worked at least one shift on Roo. Many of them worked way more than that, augmenting their income. Many of them most of them are working someplace else full-time and augmenting their income, although an increasing number of veterinarians work only Roo shifts, essentially as their full-time job, crafting a totally flexible schedule for them that allows them to choose when and where they work, and sometimes traveling to city to ultimately earn their income and make their life a little more interesting.
Great way to build in work-life balance.
Totally.
I mean, we hear so often, veterinary burnout, and that was one of the big things that Jeff and I talked about when he was on the show. I think it was our second or third episode. So here we are 2 years later, and Petworking has grown, but I think you're outpacing us a little bit at Roo.
I don't know. I've watched your audience figures, and they continue to be impressive.
Thank you. But yeah, what I've always thought is so great about Roo is that it's another way to combat veterinary burnout.
Yeah.
It doesn't, it gives vets that may be feeling overworked at their clinic an opportunity to source relief and maybe get some time off. It gives vets that may not want to be tied to a particular clinic and want to experience more flexibility and work-life balance, the chance to do that. So I think so cool what you've done, and I think even cooler that now that you're expanding into hiring, because you mentioned that there are other platforms out there that actually penalize vets
and or
hospitals for hiring after sourcing them through a platform. And so for you to make sure, we did an episode on the veterinary non-compete, and I think vets face enough challenges. We don't need to restrict where and how they can work. Everybody needs to make a living, but I think restrictive hiring practices, especially when we're facing a vet shortage, that's not what we need in the industry.
When we talk to veterinarians, what we hear from them is flexibility is key to avoiding burnout. That's both like how much you work and where you work and what that schedule looks like, but it's also avoiding non-competes, avoiding punitive contractual requirements that make it harder for you to earn a living, and that's kind of fundamental to the ethos here at Roo. Part of flexibility is that maybe you don't want a job where you are always trying to figure out where the next shift is. Maybe you want to find another full-time home, and Roo is a fantastic place to do that. With thousands of hospitals posting shifts available for you, you can try out a bunch of different practices in your local market and really figure out, not just from the facade of the outside, what it's like to work there, but actually put yourself in that environment and try it out and ultimately find your next home. So whether you want to continue the flexibility of working relief shifts or whether or not you want to go find a permanent place to work, Roo is a great tool to have in your toolkit.
Yeah. And you're not limited to vets either. You
no,
guys
technicians
as well.
Technicians as well.
And I think that's great because they're certainly just as overworked as vets are.
We actually had as many technician shifts on our platform that were fulfilled as there were veterinarian shifts. So technicians are a major part of our business and not to be overlooked.
Yeah, and you mentioned you got some more advancements to kind of refine the qualifications for vet techs that are going to be added to the platform this year.
This year we're making a major investment in our technician platform. All kinds of new onboarding ability, all aimed at making sure that whatever the skills needs that you have as a hospital, that we have a technician who meets or exceeds those needs for you and ultimately delivers a great working relationship for you.
Fantastic. Well, exciting updates at Roo. I always love checking in with you guys. We'll have to have you back on for a full episode of the podcast at some point soon. And I'm going to see if I can just get a swing to show everyone this parrot that has been, there it is.
In the background.
Cawing.
All day, every day. Only small amounts of PTSD from the screams that come in and startle you every once in a while.
And they had a sloth earlier, apparently.
There was a sloth earlier that was very, very cute, I must say. And we've since discovered that sloths, while not legal in California where I reside, they are legal in Texas. So for those of you in Texas, if you were ever thinking about getting a sloth, you can actually have a sloth.
Oh. I learned something today.
Me too.
This is Peter Kenseth with Petworking, everyone, with CEO Danny Leffel of Roo. Excited to be here at WVC 2025 and looking forward to seeing more exciting developments with Roo in the year ahead.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Take care.